It's great to see everybody. Thank you for the invite to participate in today's event, John, and the team at the SBTDC. Great organization. I spent 9 years of my career there, so I really appreciate the work that you all do. And it's great to see some familiar faces from time when I was working at SBTDC and beyond. North Carolina is a great place to do business. It's a great place for life science companies. I was looking at some data just last week, and it's very impressive what's happening in the state of North Carolina as far as life sciences are concerned. We've seen an increase in the total investment of companies investing in building out manufacturing facilities here in North Carolina. We had over $15 billion in total investment from the likes of Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, Roche, Genentech, J&J, all building new multi-billion-dollar facilities right here in North Carolina to manufacture their products. So really amazing time for life science. Also, on the R&D and innovation side, we now have 5 R1 universities in North Carolina that are all doing really great work. And most importantly, in the most recent data that we looked at, we actually have North Carolina has actually brought in $1.4 billion in venture capital financing over the past in 2025 so far, which is by far the best year of venture capital financing that we've ever had. Why do I say that? I say that to show that, while the life sciences industry has had some struggles overall, North Carolina is really outperforming and doing great. And so it's a good time for life science here. And a lot of that $1.4 billion were from very large companies raising capital here. We're talking $100 million plus deals. I think we had 7 of those. So that, half of that funding, half of those total funds were accounted for that. But I think from an early stage company perspective, we still do see more. We've seen an uptick in financing. And it's also important because from an early stage company perspective, that shows your investors that out-of-state investors are putting in big dollar amounts into North Carolina as companies progress. And so for an early stage investor, that's a really important thing because there's going to be potentially a backstop there for your investment because life science companies require a lot of capital, as y'all know. So I wanted to take a few minutes to highlight the NC Biotech loan program here at the NC Biotech. And of course, welcome to all you that have never been here before. It's a great place to be able to gather together with you all. So you heard from Tracy earlier. She talked about our grants program. But I also wanted to take a moment to just kind of go through where our funding fits in. Our loan program, generally, most of the companies that we fund have raised some early stage dollars, whether that's from venture early stage venture or angels, or whether it's from the SBIR program. But we generally have seen companies already have some funding, but we fund companies across different sectors. So everything in life sciences from therapeutics to medical device, diagnostics, lab tools, industrial biotech, and we have we have a special line item of our budget dedicated specifically for ag and ag tech technologies. We have 2 major programs here at NC Biotech for in terms of the vehicles we use to invest in companies. Right now, we have about $5.3 million. We'll invest that into 15 or 16 companies per year, between $350 up to $650,000 per company. If it's above $350, we require that a company has matching investment from investors. Over the lifetime of the program, this is a little bit old, we've deployed over $65 million in total funding, and the companies that we've invested in have raised over $8 billion in follow-on capital right here in North Carolina, and that's since 1989, so big impact program. Some of our portfolio of companies have included companies like Humacyte, went public a few years ago, AskBio, another company that was acquired by Bayer recently. Yeah, sorry about the slides. They're just trying to run. They're trying to get me off the stage as quickly as possible. The first step, if you're interested in seeking funding from NC Biotech, is to meet with one of our team members. So we have 7 people on the team. We want to get to know life science companies early, get to know you and what you're trying to accomplish in your business. Man, this is really going fast. We want to understand the problem and the solution that you're solving, the prior financing that you've raised, and kind of what your fundraising strategy is moving forward. And then we can from there talk through whether or not you might be eligible for the loan program. What we'll do at that point is invite companies in to submit a pre-application, and that's about a 2-week process. And then from that pre-application process, we go into a full application for a subset of those companies. And then if you're invited from that point on into due diligence, every quarter we take 3 or 4 companies into due diligence, and that takes about 9 weeks. And then we do a funding recommendation that goes to our equity investment committee, which is a subcommittee of our board for approval of funding. And so that's about a quarterly cadence to our process. So we're always meeting new companies and going through and deploying capital. So get to know our team if you're in the life sciences, and we can give you more detail on this and whether or not you might be a good fit. Our loans are not commercial bank loans. Okay, these are different in that we get funding from the state of North Carolina. We're able to put these into high risk early stage companies, and so by doing that, while we are senior debt holders, we have a 5-year balloon note, so no payments due for 5 years. They're very low interest rate loans, currently capped at 7%. We do have a warrant associated with our loans for a very small stake in the equity of the company, always less than 1%, potentially much smaller than that. And then what we do after that is support companies as they go out to continue to grow their businesses. And we do that in a number of ways. So we provide mentorship to companies through our team. We have an EIR program where we bring in executive in residence. For example, one of the co-founders of that company, Humacyte, that I mentioned, Juliana Blum, is one of our EIRs, and we have our EIRs working specifically with companies. We have a CXO matchmaking network that we connect companies to talented people in our ecosystem with experience. And then we spend a lot of time interacting with follow-on investors and going to conferences to meet both VCs as well as corporate strategics who are potentially interested in getting to know our portfolio companies. We do investor fly-ins. We have J&J coming here to do a AI and drug development event in November that we're really excited about. So always working to support our companies however we can. Again, I just mentioned these things that we do for our companies. We really want to spend time helping companies attract follow-on capital. That's one of our big milestones, is we want to help drive investment into the life sciences in North Carolina. So this is our team of folks here, and you may know some of them. I don't think anybody's in the room right now, but you may see some folks later on in the day. So feel free to reach out and inquire about our programs. Now, I left 5 minutes for questions. So I'd love to have a discussion about our loan program or any other questions that you have about financing for early stage companies in general. I'm happy to talk about, SBIR. I'm happy to talk about equity capital, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Funding prevents any other grants from NCID or any other prior programs, or is it a complementary or?
Yeah, good question. So our funding is complementary. I don't think it would prohibit anything that's out there. I think we tend to 50% of our portfolio are therapeutic companies, 30% are med device space. The other 20 are in the ag tech and other industry segments. So we tend to fund higher risk innovation where we need to generate some key data in order to go out and raise additional capital. And so that type of business model may not align with some of the other funding programs that are out in North Carolina. So we don't see like a ton of companies that have also raised money from NC Innovation. I'm sorry, NC Idea. We have some that have gone through the program, but I know that NC Idea tends to fund more tech companies and things like that we wouldn't typically invest in. But there's no reason that we would be prohibited from co-investing, and that's preferred. And I think in the current fundraising environment, which is getting more difficult every day in some ways, it's even more important that as an ecosystem, we come together and combine our capital to support companies, whether it's NC Innovation funding, alongside NC Biotech funding, alongside SBIR, or early stage venture. We all have to come together and really support the companies that we can to be successful. And I think our early stage investment ecosystem gets that in the life sciences, and I think we're getting stronger at bringing together some early stage capital to co-invest and syndicate to invest in early stage companies. No.
Focused on seed, pre-seed. Would you go into Series A?
So our loan funds don't necessarily come in as part of a syndicate, but it kind of depends on the stage of the company. But yes, most of the companies that we fund would be at the pre-seed and seed stage, which is going to look different depending on which industry segment you're in. But we are usually kind of coming along with that first, like prior to the first institutional round of financing. But it depends on kind of the funding landscape seems to be kind of morphing all the time. And so we take everything on a case-by-case basis. It's a good question, though. The other thing I'd say is that we also can participate in convertible note financings as well. And so when companies are raising convertible notes in the life sciences, we can also do that from time to time. However, I think our criteria is a little bit different because we have more limited funding for doing those types of investments. All right, well, it's a pleasure, and you know where to find us because you're here. But looking forward to seeing the future of your companies and where everybody goes. I know North Carolina is a great place to do business, and look forward to seeing the successes ahead of us. Thank you.